Hi, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Wednesday, January 24th Ashland Board of Health meeting. I'd like to call this to order. Everybody good with that? I don't know if...
7:02?
Oh, 7:02, thank you. I don't know if anybody's recording. I know the Ashland Cable TV is here, so we can use that as our recording for today's meeting. Nobody else? Okay. First thing, I'm sure most people know, I'm sure everybody knows, unfortunately, we lost our chairman, Mary Mortensen, recently, and certainly out of respect for her, we all like to take a moment of silence and reflect. Anybody, John, I know you were very friendly. You have anything you'd like to say? Just
Well, I
want
mean,
to say for you?
well, I thank you for the opportunity. I mean, Mary was a legend in this town. I mean, the work that she not only did on this board, but she did for the Ashland Fire Department, I want to say probably millions of dollars that she raised for the Ashland Emergency Fund through her participation in bingo. Her family legacy that's inside this building and throughout the town. I mean, Mary was a mentor to me on this board. She was a nurse. She knew the laws. She knew the regulations. She went out of her way to be accommodating to me and many other members. And Ashland has a big hole in their heart because we lost her. So
I agree.
it's tragic. It's tragic.
Yeah, thank you.
And her family legacy, lives on in this town. I mean, people often don't make the connection, but her son-in-law is the fire chief. Her daughter is, town manager's administrative assistant. Her daughter-in-law is, works inside this building. Her son works up at the high school. So, I mean, it's she won't be forgotten, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, reading the newspaper articles with all she did was really enlightening for me. I didn't know a lot of that, and she would never, certainly wouldn't brag about that, but it was, she given a lot of her life to this town.
Especially.
And, yeah.
Never
absolutely.
saw her in a bad mood, ever.
Yeah.
Ever in a bad mood.
That's great. So, I know what Mary would have liked, citizens' participation. So, anybody like to participate?
Yes,
Okay.
Marcus only. To continue on about Mary, I known her probably before she got really notarized of the town when she was a school nurse. And we just knew each other as a student friend, and now as I go forth in my civic life here as a mentor, because it's between her and you, John, about letting me speak up and not having anything back off and have everything get in the way, just to say it and not to be timid.
Mhm.
I sent out a little message on the day where she passed. I sent it out through the town hall, and I know that Laura told me that it was passed around with a little memorial about her and saying how I felt. And how I felt is that, yes, a friend, a person that cared. And every person that she's met up with and kept company with was always an interest, never a difficult listener, and had the positive emotions to go with that thoughts that that person had, and was always fair to everybody that she talked to. So I'm saying, as a citizen, yes, she would be missed. And I was at the wake, and knew that through her, how she was to me, I said to other people, my late mother and her could be really meant as inside of me, how the soul, the mind, and positiveness kept it all together. So Mary, yes, you're missed. Now you get to talk to my mom upstairs and get to know each other. And through the past 217, let's be positive, keep the memory strong, and have Mary know that this boy will go on without anything that has any sort of backlog to it. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, anybody have anything else? No? I forgot to thank one person in the beginning. I'd like to thank Laura for helping me schedule this meeting. She did a lot of work. She found a room for us to have when the town hall is sold out tonight, so she accommodated us. Did a lot of work doing that. She helped get the agenda printed and any other materials, and I really appreciate you helping me. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah.
Why you're the best. That's why you're the best.
So as far as number 4 goes, I just wanted to put it on there. I don't think we have to have a long discussion about this. I thought if there was anything that we could do, maybe John, I don't know if you've done things like this before, maybe you'd be able to, or want to take the lead on it and see what you thought would be appropriate, and maybe come back at a future date and we can discuss it. Is that?
I think that's the ideal thing to do because he has known her well. He could come back with some concrete ideas and then we can discuss it further and then maybe work on it and see if we can put our collective effort in getting that run through.
Well, only because it's on the agenda and it's almost 2 trains running down the track, is that, we've talked about it over the summer and maybe into the fall. We talked about doing a recognition about Cadillac Paint and about other people's commitments. So, very simply and with great honor, why don't we do Mary Mortensen Public Health Award and, do it as a yearly award from this board, if the board so agrees. And, we could come back with a recognition. We could, vet a viable candidate and make it a yearly thing, do a nice plaque. And, so her memory will always, be memorialized inside this building. I think it's an excellent idea.
That's great.
It's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
And, we can talk offline about, because about, possible candidates, but I think we do it sooner than later.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And do friends and family, make it a celebration type of thing.
Yeah, that would be really
Yeah.
nice.
The
think that would
other
be
thing is that the internship that goes on here may be named after her too. That's
That's a
another thing
nice
that
idea,
would
too.
get it.
That's actually a nice.
That
idea.
way, it doesn't need to be funded, but only the name needs to be made as her internship.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do it sooner than later.
Yeah, sure. So if we can, next meeting, if we can concrete plans, we can put it to and then get.
I will have a plan in place by the next meeting then.
Yeah.
Okay. I did want to pass this out. Not that you don't know, because I'm sure you know this, everybody does. This is just the Mass General laws about number 5, to at least review the procedure. Are you more comfortable with the procedure, John? You want to?
Yeah, I've done it from both sides of the
Okay.
fence. I did it as a selectman, and I've done it as a member of this board a couple times. So, quite simply, we have to schedule a meeting with the selectmen, and it's their meeting
Okay.
that we participate in, and we have all the votes count. So we would have, if all members showed up from this board, we'd have 4 members, and assuming that all 5 selectmen showed up, it would be a 9-person vote, and that they would vote to fill the vacancy.
Okay. And this.
And if we don't meet these guidelines, then it becomes
Then it's there, right.
Then it
That's
becomes
the way.
their call.
That's why it was that way last time, I guess.
Correct,
We did.
yeah,
Okay.
right, because we didn't fill it. But I think we should fill it ASAP.
Yeah, I suggest that the chair write a letter to the selectmen informing there is a vacancy because of the
Yes.
sudden demise of a chair.
I can get that out tomorrow.
I was gonna say, we
And
should
references
get
reference
that
this
out
NGL
ASAP.
Yeah,
and sign on behalf of the board and send it through.
Well, I think
That
we should
is-
make a
Okay.
formal motion. and-
Yeah, that's what I suggested. That's the motion that I made. The
Okay.
chairman respond.
So I'll second that,
Yeah.
okay, great.
and then you'll have to call a vote on
Yeah,
it.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. I'll
Good.
take care of that tomorrow.
Great. And, you know,
Alright.
that can be an email. It doesn't have to be.
Oh, okay, great.
You can send the email and then, as the next time you're in town hall, just drop off a letter. But
Letter,
yeah,
okay.
But it can be an email.
Alright.
It's as simple as
And
that.
make sure you include Tara Ward in it.
Correct, and that's what I was gonna
Secretary
say.
too.
Okay,
Make sure Tara gets a copy and then Susan gets a copy, Susan Roby gets a copy as well.
all right. I'll make sure I talk with Laura
But you don't
before I,
have to,
before I
you don't have to run
send
in
it
here,
out.
you know, during the workday. You can just send an email.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you have to follow it up with a hard copy.
And the Board of Selectmen with their
Right.
standard address,
Right.
email ID.
No, okay, great. All right. And just to introduce, I don't know if the audience knows Tom Curran, that works for the town part-time as a food inspector. He's here to help us maybe with a little bit of six, which is we're hope to discuss a little about the financial committee recommendations for funding an additional hours for part-time food inspection. Anybody, at least John or KG, have anything you'd like to add, at least originally?
I had sent
initially?
a document which was a copy of the report that the DPH had sent us in 2014, and there is no subsequent reports beyond that. That is the latest report that they had. And on page first, they declare about what kind of consequences are there for the food protection program fails. The health of the people is important. And they also give some statistics about how the numbers work out. And then it's said that you want to have the food establishment regularly monitored. That's important. The keyword is monitoring it, so you need to be inspecting it. And the FDA does recommend that there be one full-time employee designated as food inspector for every 150 establishments. And I also looked at some of the statistics that they have had in the past. Our town seems to be running at the rate at which running in 2013, it could see 1,500 establishments in town, which is much, much higher. We rank about 4 or 5 in the 261 communities that we know of. So it's better to bring that number down so that we will have, and then
And the town's
we-
grown substantially since
Plan, yeah,
2013, too.
we have close to 150 establishments, so we rather have one full-time, but I know that we cannot afford to get that much, so at least it suggests that we have additional part-time hours or additional part-time person to take care of the activity. Preferred, I'm sure, if Thomas, depending on his timing, he could suggest.
Well, can we just back up there a little bit? Because, one, I think the public should know that this board met with the finance committee, what, 10 days ago?
9th of June, 9th of January.
9th of January. We had the opportunity to make a nice presentation, and they were very, I thought it was good dialogue, I thought it was good conversation. But what they did is they tasked us to come back to them in early February with a proposal to justify another staff member. And, you know, as I said in the finance committee meeting, and I'll state here tonight again in public, is that I think the best fallback plan is maybe to hire another part-time person, but that's plan B for me. I still think plan A for this board, and more importantly for this town, is to get a second assistant. I mean, it's public knowledge now that, you know, that our office has been understaffed for many, many years. Recently, in the last 6 weeks, it's been drastically understaffed. And I just can be concerned, as Ashland is a booming area, and, you know, we've got development, record development in this town. And development brings more businesses, brings more restaurants, it brings more opportunities for public health issues that, you know, we've got an opiate crisis in town, we've got a hoarding crisis in town, we've got mental issues in town that, you know, it might not be in the budget, but I still think it's in the best interest of the public that we hire, you know, a full-time assistant. Because the thing is, you have to understand is if we go out and hire a part-time food inspector, I don't want to lose Tom. Tom has been the best thing that's happened to this
Definitely.
department in
Indeed.
the last 10 years, you
Yeah,
know?
that's why I said.
And if we go
add
out and hire another person, does that put?
Mm-hmm. No.
Tom's,
No.
Tom's,
It-
well,
It's either additional person besides Tom,
If
or
we-
extra hours for Tom.
if we ran the town, KG,
I
but we
understand.
don't.
We don't, but.
We run the
we-
Board of Health, but we
That's
don't
right.
run the town,
But
so
we can
that
make-
might not be our decision.
We can make our recommendations to the town, and then I'm sure there's enough resources at least to add that many hours for the full-time food inspections. I'm sure that's maybe a bit easier to track with the FinCom and then convince
Right.
them to do it.
But if we hired a full-time inspector,
No, I did not ask for a
Right.
full-time, I'm not, but that's what they recommended, but we may not be able to afford it.
Right.
So that's the reason that I'm saying that we at least need another part-timer so that.
well,
we can
I guess that's where I
make
don't
it better
understand.
instead of.
Why can't we afford it? We have to justify our position, and I totally understand that, because that's the way the process works. But the last two town meetings, we've had excess free cash in the town, millions of dollars of free cash in the town, and we funded other things. It was mentioned at town meeting that we don't fund positions, but we do fund positions. Kudos to the finance committee and the town manager and the selectmen for us having free cash. But if we've had free cash for the last 2 years, and that's on top of asking for an override, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. We're not asking, for a six-figure salary. We're looking for, an entry-level type position salary,
Right,
so.
but the issue that they had raised is to come back with detailed justification for that.
Right.
But at least we know that we are able to get justification for this particular item. So this is one way to get.
I didn't walk out of that meeting feeling that way.
That's
Did
what
you?
they
I mean, I
said.
didn't feel that was
Well,
guaranteed.
No, I didn't,
Right.
I didn't get a good feeling like they were gonna give us somebody full-time.
Right.
But it doesn't mean we can't ask for it and
Right.
try to justify
Right.
it, and then take the lesser if we have to.
But the question is, do we have chance to plead for both?
Well, I think we should, yeah. I mean, it's always good to have a plan, but it's more importantly always good to have a backup
Right,
plan
but
too. yeah.
what parameters do we have for data that they want for justification for a full-time assistant? We don't have it, we haven't collected it, at least these are available information that we can use it and justify it for the part-timers. These are concrete data that both the DPH as well as our documents show that. So adding additional time for full-time, for the food inspection is
Well, Tom, you work in
available in
Boston,
terms of data.
so I mean, the economy of scale is much different than, a small little town of Ashland, but I mean, do you have any thoughts on?
I think it's a trend, unfortunately, that there is a lack of resources in this area. The demand is obviously there. When we speak about licensed establishments in the town of Ashland, you mentioned the number 150. That certainly doesn't take into account the events that occur seasonally, temporary events, the farmer's market,
Ashland,
Firefly Festival, Ashland Day, so those type of events, those temporary inspections add to the workload. It wasn't out of the ordinary for me over the summer to work an 8-hour Saturday because of simultaneous things going on in the town, which is good. The town is active and vibrant. You mentioned it's getting busier. More establishments have probably been added since this 2013 data
Yeah,
here.
of course, of course.
So the demand is certainly there. Obviously, what benefits the town is Pinnacle, and, what the board decides to do as far as, allocating further resources to kind of come in line with this, FDA recommendation. I can tell you for sure that doesn't happen in Boston because, they're pushing for more inspectors as we speak. There's 18 inspectors in Boston. I think there's 23 wards or sections that the inspectors are responsible for, and we're lucky to get to each establishment once a year, and we try to do risk-based inspections like we do here. Medium risk gets inspected twice per year, urgent risk, like hand-to, 3 times per year, and low risk is, packaged retail food establishments, which are once a year. So in Boston, in some certain scenarios, we're lucky we get to regular full-service restaurants once per year. We
Wow.
try to get to them twice per year. Sometimes we do, not always. But that's, comparing apples to oranges as far as what's manageable here in Ashland.
In fact, the DPH document does talk about Boston.
Oh, does it? Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really pinpoints and it shows these numbers there very well, and then as you said, that's what the thing happening, and Topsfield is the worst one. It has the rate at which they're inspecting it, they could do 5,000 establishments in a year. So we are the fourth or fifth in that, based on the 2013 data.
But where I get, and I don't want to dominate this conversation, but I'm deeply passionate, where I don't want to meet a standard, I want to exceed a standard.
Sure.
And and as I said in the FinCom meeting, I think Ashland should take a proactive approach to public health with our aging senior citizens that we have. Like I said, once again, the opiate crisis. We've got to talk about at the future meeting because it's not on tonight's agenda. We've got marijuana regulations coming across. Who's going to do those inspections? Where everybody's like, hey, well, let's not talk about it. But once those come around, you're going to want to have, yes, the will of the voters is to have recreational marijuana, but you want to have safe marijuana in your town too, and regulated marijuana in your town too. And there's been no discussion from the state level, and I've been up at Beacon Hill having conversations about it. There is no process for it. So if Ashland becomes a place that has recreational marijuana, who's going to inspect it? And more importantly, who's going to be trained to inspect it? So it's all coming.
Yeah.
It's all coming.
My added information is that right now, if Tom is off or Tom cannot handle it because it's overload, it falls on Mark.
Right.
And then he's spending some time for this also. So if you have additional time for Mark or additional part-timer, then it takes that much work off of Mark, and then he could probably concentrate on other things that needs to be done. So that way, this is much beneficial to town in the short run. The long run, I understand that we need to have that plan and projected. And what I suggest is now not only take this to the FinCom and talk to the manager and see whether in the immediate short span that he can get this extra time allocated for us before the budget comes up for the future too. So that way we'll at least build up, and we can build up more statistics on it and then get the information too.
Well, I just want to interject on that though too, is I think it was before you came on the board, because I think it was when I was still a selectman. We established revolving funds, fund accounts to fund these types of things. I think we can afford to fund a part-time inspector already out of our revolving funds.
Right.
I do. And those are our funds.
The justification
they
that
go
I've
under
given
the-
it, that the meal tax brings $210,000, which far exceeds the total budget of the Board of Health.
Correct.
So,
No, I might not agree with you
unfortunately,
on
that
that.
money goes into the general fund.
Right.
It is not allocated to the Board of Health.
But with our revolving funds, we can probably afford another inspector already,
Mhm.
already.
Right.
Which leads me back to, let's not settle, let's exceed, but.
Yeah, but
Well,
this-
what other information would we have to try to gather to they're accountant beans, so they want black and white numbers, how do we justify? I mean, you can think about it logically, like you said, just with the growth of the town and all the things that are going on,
Mhm.
and, only one Mark, for 33 years, and not any other significant help other than Tom with all the other responsibilities. So
Mhm.
that's, an obvious thing. How do you quantify that, though? That, without at least comparing us to other towns or trying to get some other type of information. So,
And that's where I'm saying it's hard to quantify proactive.
But sometimes
You
it's
have to-
possible to look through the trend of what has gone on, what kind of problems we have faced. There could be statistics from the past 10 years or something to see a trend and say, this is what we're projecting it, and that's when we can do it. But I couldn't find reports in the town which would quantify those numbers. I'm sure other towns have those numbers, like Southborough, Framingham, Hopkinton there.
Well, we're not gonna track information of
In
stuff
their-
that we're
in
not
their-
doing though, you know what I mean? That's the, you know, it's what do your eyes and your heart tell you
Right.
versus, you know, show me the data. Because if we're not doing something, it's because we're too busy to not do it, so we're not documenting the fact that we're not doing it, we're just not doing it,
Right.
you know? You know, when was the last time, you know, that we took a proactive approach to, you know, senior health, dementia? We haven't.
I
It's
understand.
it's been decades, or
But
well
FinCom-
over a decade.
FinCom is best with working with numbers and data, so they have to justify it, so we can't ask them to say, look, I believe it, so you have to believe it, we can't say that.
Okay, well,
Well, I mean, if you go off this FDA baseline of 150 inspections for one inspector, I mean, I can say with confidence, I probably conducted 400 inspections in 2017, so based on, that's not even accounting for
Right.
the temporary events that were conducted.
Yeah, and you work 16 hours a week.
To increase the number of hours.
What's that?
and you work 16 hours a week, right?
Between 10 and 16
Between 10 and
hours,
16,
yeah, so,
And so you've done 400 now.
right, right. So, I mean, you have to, the initial inspection, and 9 times out of 10, you need a compliance inspection done to see if the violations cited have been corrected. And in other scenarios, you need to go back more than that, and that's when the fine structure comes in that Laura has been issuing to the establishments that require more than the 2 standard inspections, the initial and the compliance inspection. So if we run into issues with compliance, then that's when the establishments are subject to fines.
So just for me, and
Yeah.
maybe other people know this, can you just briefly tell me, you know, what kind of time commitment it entails to do just one inspection for the most part for you? From
Sure.
getting there to doing it to all your paperwork, what's that entail for you?
It typically, I mean, it's circumstantial, certainly, and it's based on what I walk into. Every inspection, obviously, is a snapshot in time. Nothing is, you know, a cookie cutter approach. I certainly have the same approach as to how I conduct my inspections. That doesn't change, but, you know, depending on the number of violations that, you know, we encounter, that takes additional time to document and convey to the person in charge. You have to kind of work with people. Compliance through assistance, I think, is a good theme and a good approach. And, you know, depending on whether they can take corrective actions during the inspection process, or if they need further direction, I mean, that's time consuming as well. So, I mean, a regular medium establishment restaurant, at least an hour would be spent conducting the initial inspection. And that could go beyond that, you know, depending on the violations that are cited. We had an issue with, obviously, Hantu in the past, who has now been bumped up to an urgent category risk because of repeat risk factor critical violations, improper holding temperatures, and cross-contamination issues. So establishments in that category you need to work with, you know, even more. They've gotten much better. They hired a food safety consultant mandated by the board, and you know, I haven't been in there recently, but I plan to. It's a new year now, so you know, they'll be coming up again soon in the rotation. But certainly in that circumstance, you want to spend a little extra time, you know, and especially in a place that has, you know, a bit of a history, but you want to kind of bring them into compliance, and it's maintaining. You want to encourage a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. You know, this is the way things should be done all the time, not just when the inspector comes in and writes you up for it. You know, we want these things to be done this way consistently. And it goes back to the protection of citizens and public health. There's an expectation that someone who goes into a food and beverage establishment can eat something in good faith and not get sick. And that's kind of where it comes into play, what I do, you know?
Right?
To add to his statements, I have been there in the temple as a president. I know that Mark used to come and the other ladies used to come for inspection. It's not just limited to the kitchen. They
Right.
look
Right.
at the whole establishment.
Right.
But they are authorized and they're empowered to complain about any code violation, need not be food, any code violation. So they may look at the fire safety, they may look at the doors, exits, if the people have blocked with chairs and everything, all those things. If they find it, they'll talk about it. So they have to spend time to explain to them not to do it again, and so all
Right.
these things. Plus, they inspect the restrooms. You know, then they inspect the water temperature. You know.
Yep, lighting.
All of these things.
Emergency access and
So
stuff.
it requires more
Pretty
time to spend.
all-inclusive,
Yeah, and observables around the perimeter of the footprint of the building to make sure there's no entry points for pest activity. You know, make sure door sweeps are installed, make sure there's no holes in the outer walls where, you know, pests could gain entry.
Rodents could come inside through a small hole.
Right.
But as Tom was talking, I was just scribbling here, and let me just throw out and this is, you know, top of my head, so we all know how dangerous that is. An assistant position, let's just assume, 16 hours for inspections. Let's just call them food inspections, but
Okay.
inspections. I put down 8 hours for community outreach, schools, seniors, Board of Health, Ashland Day, Farmers Market. 8 hours, and this is a week. So 16 hours for inspections, 8 hours for community outreach, once again, getting proactive. 8 hours, now think about this one, guys. Nyanza, the landfill, the septic systems in town, stormwater runoff is becoming a big issue in town. So that one day is one day of administration of just with lingering historical issues that we have in town. 4 hours of admin, meaning working with Laura, working on permits, you know, getting back to people, Ashland Day, you know, Farmers Market. And if we could commit 4 hours a week towards the opiate crisis, the mental health issues that we have in town, hoarding issues in town, that's 40 hours right there. There's no fluff there. Those are all issues that we currently have right now, but getting back to being proactive. I mean, I could come up with, you know, that's 2, 4, that's 5. I could come up with 10 more. Maybe we need 2 assistants. You know what I'm saying? And those are things that come across your desk every day, right? Right.
One positive thing about Metro West is that we are doing 2.13 inspections for the schools. I don't know how we are doing in Ashland, but Metro West region has been the
Yeah, I
best
saw
among
that.
all the schools, all the towns that we know of.
Must have been, what, 35 pages of statistics, you know, in the email you sent.
Right, 37. You may
Yeah.
want to include that as part of the document, though.
Yeah.
You know, getting back to that proactive report, I mean, I've become a fanatical recycler. And you know why I became a fanatical recycler? Because my kids made me become one. Because somebody reached out in the schools when they were kindergarten, first grade, and said, hey, this is why it's important. And those kids came home and said, Dad, you can't throw that in the trash. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been throwing that in the trash all my life. But you know what? They were right. And because of that community outreach, that proactive, Ashland is one of the leading, you know, recycling towns in the Metro West, if not in the state of Massachusetts. But it's that type of, you know, positive outreach. I think I know we can't quantify it in numbers. I think I would like to sell a vision rather than a number, is what I'm trying to say.
Understand, but we are
We can do it, that's
tasked or
right.
asked to give some numbers. That's a problem with
We
it.
can
Well-
try the best we can, and then, you know, an emotional appeal can't hurt either, you know, or a reasonable appeal, I
Well,
think.
but I would like to think that our appeal is not emotional, it's fact.
Or fact, right?
It is fact. I mean, you know, do we have an opiate crisis in town? Yes, because every community in Massachusetts has an opiate crisis. Is there a mental health issue in town? Absolutely, there's a mental health issues in town. Is Nyanza a problem in town? Yep. Is the landfill still a problem? Yep, so I mean, you know, I don't know.
Everything's data-driven, but those are definitely tangible issues that you
Yeah,
present.
they're all
you know.
tangible, yeah.
Can I add something?
Sure.
If it's okay?
Yeah.
Here in the discussion here, what goes on is, my idea, to bring it up front, the budget committee, the finance committee, is to get maybe a list of the food establishments, how many times they get inspected, and categorize it as per year compared to your 16 hours per week, and how many places from A, getting there, B, doing the progress of the inspection and then leaving, and then combine, how long, hour plus, whatever it takes, And if you get to a place, the unexpected could happen where the owner's not there. So you have to miss that inspection because the owner may not be there, but the finance committee won't know that. So that's a tangible thing. And you gotta have to invoke tangibles into this request for what you got going here.
You know, because I always talk about core values. You know, what are the core values of the town? And why is Ashland a growing community? Because we've got great schools. We've got great police and fire. We've got opportunities here. You know, we have Ashland Day, we have the Corner Spot, we have the Farmers Market. The reason people come to Ashland is because it's a great place to raise a family, you know? You certainly don't come here to open up, a Fortune 500 business, right? Those go on Route 9 and those go, 495. You come here to, raise a family. Public health is probably the number one thing about raising your family. You want to raise a healthy family. You want to establish good core values in your children at a young age. But more importantly, Ashland has a senior citizen population that's bigger than most communities too. You need to provide for them as well too, and I don't think that we're doing that as well either. It's not about inspections for me. Inspections are extremely important, but it's the other things that define a community that are, important here. Why do we have a great police department? Because they're proactive with the public. Same thing with the fire department.
And for all those.
And our schools,
For all the, can you, this is a second occasion, and for all those reasons, to keep the people, family, patrons to the food places, we need top-notch budget to get top-notch inspection.
But quality brings quality though
I
too.
understand, if you had the restaurants well certified by Board of Health saying that they're doing a good job,
Which we do.
you expect more people to come and attend to this place.
Mhm.
And if they love the business, they have to close it soon because they will not have the business.
Yep.
So if they close the business, the town doesn't get good number in terms of rating because all the businesses are closed and everything is shut down building.
Mhm.
So it's better to get this one passed and then solidify it and then move on to get the additional ones later. What I'm suggesting is not only to give it to the finance committee, this justification, also plead before the manager to see whether in the short run he can implement it and then move on further.
Look, if I may, let me ask Tom a difficult question. We had a challenging restaurant this past calendar year in town. And if the resources were there that, not that we do their job for them, but to be more proactive with that restaurant, would we be still having the issues that we'd have today? Because what I think is, we probably would have said, okay, cut the crap, you're out of business. Or we would have taught them, this is the way you do things. There is zero tolerance, and we might not be having the issues today. I know that might not be a fair question, but I mean,
Well, I think they kind of evolved through the process. They consulted, a food consultant.
Right.
I think,
but getting back to that community outreach, if we spent 8 hours with them one
Right.
day,
Yeah.
maybe it's 4 hours 2 times or something.
I mean, if more resources were there, it would have equaled a quicker compliance and a turnaround. I
And that's
absolutely
kinda what I
agree with
mean.
you, yeah. I really think that, and the visibility is important too. If they have this kind of, they get comfortable with, okay, well, the food inspector only comes around on, Saturday mornings and Wednesday nights, I can kind of, be lackadaisical on the off days.
Right, get everything off the floor Saturday morning.
Yeah, and a lot of what we do is, not so much a draconian approach or authoritarian, but like, obviously to have a presence there, as an authority figure. You want to work with people, but you want to also let them know that, there is oversight and there's an expectation and there's a caliber that needs to be met consistently. And they need to adhere to what's spelled out in the food code on a regular basis, not on a reactive basis.
And most often that there is a change in the staff that happens in the restaurants. People leave and somebody else is to be hired.
Oh, it's
That-
gotta be
that
like
fellow doesn't
80%,
get
yeah.
fully trained in time.
Right.
So that's when the problems occur too. So that's why we need to go down and check them quite often, whether they are there or not. So.
Right, you're big on the certified food manager
But yes,
thing, yeah,
right.
okay. Right, I'm not disagreeing.
So
But it
when are
should-
we meeting?
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Yeah, and the certified food manager, it's an important tool in the fabric of, you know, obviously food safety, but show me what you learned in the class, you know, explain to me proper holding temperatures, tell me what your cooling methods are, what's your illness policy, and a lot of folks, they struggle to answer questions, you know, and it's more than just a certificate hanging on the wall. It's important that they take that class, but it's putting that knowledge into action on the regular. And then if that person is absent, then they need to be able to designate to a person in charge while in their absence that, you know, basic food safety protocols. So whoever's there at the time of the inspection can answer the questions, you know, of the food inspector.
We were at, if I'm not mistaken, you were there, and I know Tom was definitely there. We were there on a Saturday,
Oh, right, yeah.
and we were asking the establishment to perform a test that they would look you in the eye and say they do twice a day, every day, 7 days a week. Okay, well, do it for us now. And they're both looking at each other like, oh, we have to do it. They didn't have the first clue how to do it. Yet they had a log. Yeah, we do it every day, twice a day. I'm like, let me see the log. And, okay, we'll do it for us now. So you knew it wasn't getting done. And, you know, we held them accountable for it and stuff like that. But this was a certified food manager telling us this.
Look, I was there in Southern Pond in an establishment. I went there and ordered salad. I get a 6 inch of hair. It's supposed to be a reputed one. So what do you do?
Right. I mean, hopefully that's a one-off, but
Yeah.
this was just blatant to me, so.
Right, yeah.
And that's when I started saying, okay, we need to have a more proactive approach, so. When are we going to finance committee? Did we establish a date? I don't think we established
No,
a
we
date.
didn't- we didn't really
But it's
establish
early
anything.
February. They typically meet on Tuesdays, so I'm thinking probably the 13th or the 20th of February.
You may want to check with them when they are.
Yeah, I'll send Adam, the chair, Adam Elmer, I'll send him an email tonight, and I'll CC all of us on it.
And just to follow up for you, and I'm not
Sure.
asking you to,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh, not at
So
all.
if you're doing 400, how many is Mark doing? Like, do you do more than him? Is it a 50-50 split? Because that's a big chunk of his, that's a third, you know, that's a quarter to a third of his work week then, that if he's doing half of them, that's a lot of time.
Right, and
for him
Mark,
too.
No.
what's that?
Tom, you did the majority.
You
I do the majority of the food
do
inspections, and
two-thirds of
it. You do two-thirds
KG
of it.
mentioned the schools. Mark has typically taken care of the schools because they're open during the day. But yeah, I do the majority
You do-
of the
okay.
food inspections,
So
So
yeah.
he comes when the restaurant's in peak business. They're under stress. That's when he checks out. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah,
Right.
Rather than when
sure.
they're quiet.
Right.
Everybody's
Everything would be-
concentrating on,
Yeah.
and then everything is clean.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, doing a restaurant inspection at 8 o'clock at night is drastically different than doing it at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not the most welcome guy on the block, but it is,
Oh,
it's
okay.
ideal to see the, you know,
Stress test.
the.
That's gotta take a ton of time too, because they're preparing food and people are busy, so.
Yeah,
Just doing it that
and
way.
that just, you know, opens the window to see, you know, what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, you know, when you can see them.
I guess Mark
prepare the
also goes
food.
on a short notice for anything that happens when
Yes.
Tom cannot make it or something.
You know, but chicken at room temperature, and you're serving 200 meals a night, you could wipe out, you know, the community
Right,
real quick that way.
right.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna kill them, but you're not going to work tomorrow or the next day.
That's right, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You know, and let's, and the, you know, and the other thing is, and it's topical because it's all over the news, the flu this year, you know?
Yeah.
The flu is huge this year.
Right.
The flu, and once again, community outreach, you know? Yeah, the flu shot's only working 30%, but, you know, 30%, but there's other methods that you can do, you know, wash your hands, how to cough properly.
Mhm.
And once again, getting back to that proactive, you know, what if the Ashland Board of Health went to the schools and taught the kids how to, you know, be safer during flu
The
season?
nurse could do that.
The
too.
nurse, yep, the nurse, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yep, yep, yep. You know, just, you know. So how do we sell this vision to the finance committee?
Right, That's a great
I
question.
think
Because,
go with-
because if we present numbers, we're probably not gonna get what we want.
Or
But just like any time any position in this town has grown since, you know, the late 1800s, it was grown with vision, not with, you know, so.
I understand the trend has changed.
The
In
trend
those
has changed.
days, you know,
Right.
people would believe the
I mean, we tried to
elders,
hire
members,
2
and say,
firemen
"This
in
is
this
what we
town for
need,"
20
they would
years.
take it. Now they're all looking for data. They're looking for numbers,
Well,
justification.
data is safe. data is safe.
You need to provide them. That's the thing. And I would,
Okay, so-
I would suggest that we go with the existing information, but Laura has painfully put
Well,
together as
This
well
was
as.
a report
Yes.
that Tom printed out. I have a different report that Tom's gonna help me with.
Yeah,
It's more of a spreadsheet and it's a little more succinct.
I mean, this is great, but I don't think this gets us over the hump. I mean,
Probably
More.
would.
for the part-time position.
yeah,
Yeah.
For the part-time.
yeah, this
Right.
is,
That's what we need to look at it
I
right
certainly
now.
have to streamline this a little more, but it gives you, you know, a general idea of, this is a date range from January 1st, 2017 to December 31st,
Page
2017.
7, starting at page 7.
Yeah, and I think this is, I'm still trying to familiarize myself with the WinWham program as far as generating compiled data sheets.
Is there a manual for it?
But I think the last few pages, you have to refer to the permit numbers in order to read the first few pages. Because unfortunately, it doesn't have the name of the business. Rather, it has the permit number, I believe. Under business, that's the permit number. So, and then it goes on to tell you if it was a routine sanitary inspection, was it a re-inspection, was it a HACCP plan review? So it kind of breaks it down to the different inspections that occur.
Which is the one I was making with that too.
Right, and Laura is, you know, there's a living document going that Laura has generated that kind of spells that out more accurately.
Well, let's role play an assumption. Let's assume that we can convince the finance committee that, okay, we need another part-time inspector. So then I think with common sense, you go, okay, our food establishments are covered, and we should probably be able to, we would most likely be able to get to both establishment twice a year, okay? So then that frees up other times for, potentially it'd be Mark, it would, you know, would be for Mark. So his vision would change then too. So what would we be tasked, if we're not asking him to, you know, do that? But he would still have to oversee all these, and you probably spend how many hours a week working with Mark, just in correspondence and so forth and so on? 2-3 hours?
I'm in touch with Mark on a regular basis via phone, email, text message, you know, so.
What do you think, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a
At
week?
least, yeah, at least. And-
So even though Mark's not doing the inspections, he's still gonna be
Got his
spending
hand in.
10
Yeah,
hours,
of course.
you know,
Right, and
touching, feeling.
Mark spends a
you know.
tremendous amount of time, you know, mentoring and guiding me, and he's always accessible, even when he's,
Right.
shouldn't be accessible.
accessible.
You know,
So
on
what-
vacation and everything.
Well, my
else.
point is it doesn't give him all that free time.
No, absolutely
Because
not.
I think it only frees up 30% of his free time.
Right, but he probably can concentrate on other things to work with that he's.
But is that enough?
But, and I love the idea of at least asking for the assistant, because if we don't ask, we're not gonna get
Right,
it. And
yeah.
that, you know, another major problem that would solve would be if we had another assistant, then we don't have to worry about the on-call thing, because I know
Correct.
that's, which is huge, I think, because that's, Mark has a lot of time, and he should be able to take that without having to worry about us and us, you know, because I know you said you've covered a few things, you know, when there's an emergency, and, you know, the town should be covered, and it's great that you do it, and.
Yeah, I'm happy
you're
to do
good for-
it.
I know you are,
But
but.
it's
it
not the
does
right
kill
thing.
that-
It's not the right
It
thing.
does kill that, you know, at least that other issue. You don't have to appropriate additional money for it. It's a little bit more of an initial outlay, but then a lot of those other programs that you're talking about being proactive on get covered instead of not even being addressed at all. I don't know how to quantify it. I agree with you. You're a numbers guy, KG. What do you think we might be able to put together? You know, if, 'cause just to ask, I mean, I'm not expecting we're gonna get it, but
No,
even
I'm
if
not
we don't,
expecting we're gonna get it.
at least we
At
can.
least this way, we are able to free some time for Mark.
No, but I'm
That's
saying,
what we.
in addition to the information you already have, I'm saying, if we were gonna try to, as a group, try to put together a presentation to say, you know, we think that, you know, an assistant health agent would be the way to go, what other information you think we can gather? Or you
We
don't
definitely
think
have to
that's-
look at different towns, find out what they're doing in each of those activities, and see whether we do that, we replicate those activities here. And if some other personnel in some other department is doing it, but they are under this big umbrella but not within the Board of Health, then that time goes there rather than Board of Health.
Right, so that's
Like
what
they
we want.
have, I think old days the youth services used to be in the Board of Health, now they've
Right.
detached it.
Right, that was a
And
couple of
The
years
elder
ago.
service is also detached. So
Right.
those timings are covered under the other common, what is it called, Development Office or Human
Right,
Resources?
community
whatever it is
development,
called.
community.
So that's not under our budget, so that's taken out. So we can't take that aspect of it, put it here unless the person is working here. Unless you design somebody that you're asking for is split among the various sections, which the manager has to agree on it because he has the control over where people work and how we devise the workload. That's what the charter has given him.
Can I just do and bear with me on this?
Sure.
And you're gonna be like, John, shut up. We have a town manager, we have assistant town manager. We have a chief of police, we have lieutenants. We have a fire chief, we have a captain, he has lieutenants. Schools, they have a superintendent, we have assistant superintendent. Each school has a principal, each school has an assistant principal. You see where I'm going here, right?
Yeah.
What's the only department that doesn't have an assistant in town?
Library.
Library does have an assistant.
Does it?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I'll ask the question again. What's the only town? And it's the Board of Health. It's the Board of Health.
Elder services may not have one, do they?
I don't know that it's an official title, but they have an infrastructure in place that, you know, when somebody's been out for the last 6 weeks, then things would be covered. We haven't had that protection here.
The one level up usually covers, I guess.
Right.
whatever it is.
But, you know, and like I said,
Involved.
it's not a contest or anything, but
I
you really have to look at that. And our department touches every
I understand, but
nuance in town.
we cannot ask for title's sake, we need to have an assistant. We have to justify the workload, that's what's important, that's what they're asking for.
But I think we can.
The last thing.
I mean, come up with 4 things of your own, and then Ron come up with 4, and then we ask Judy to come up with, 4 things of her own too. I mean,
Right.
there's,
but if-
and because I
if-
think we'll all come up with different
if they-
answers.
If they come up with it, that this aspect of the job is being done by this department already, so take that away. So we need to know what we do. We do septic systems, we do food inspections.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the major items that we do. Other than that, the hoarding, recently, the last time we had, there was only one case they showed up, but I saw some 5 cases here. But I don't know where those 5 cases come from, because I have not
The
seen.
hoarding?
I understand,
Right.
but that's what it says, but we
Right.
didn't hear about it, so we don't know about it. So how
We've
much
heard
of the
about it.
effort? No, it didn't come up in any of the board meetings or reports, anything anyway. But
Okay.
that's, sometimes it is confidential in terms of who it is, but they could come up with the numbers that happened on it. And the other thing that he does is irrigation well. So those are the things which Mark is already doing, that's not overloaded.
Oh, I beg to differ with you.
Yeah, if he's not there, then it makes a difference. If he goes on vacation, which he deserves it.
Right.
And then we need to have an on-call person that has nothing to do with the permanent
Which we don't
position.
have.
Yeah, but on-call having is a short term, that they could probably hire somebody from other town to do it.
Good luck with that,
Well,
because we've tried.
Yeah.
How many years have you been here and we've tried to do that? Multiple years.
Yeah, I mean, we have somebody right now, but, maybe we could see about keeping somebody
Right. Full-time,
on
yeah.
it. Well, as a
Full-time is a
on-call
full-time, on-call
basis,
person, yeah. It's hard to find because
Yeah.
you don't want the job. I mean, nobody wants that job. People want to know what they're going to get paid when they're expected to be at work and stuff like that. I mean, in all along, I still, in the thing, that we need to talk about it because I thought it was a good discussion is, regionalization. I don't know that it's going to be regionalization tomorrow. I don't know that it's going to be regionalization in 3 years from now. But eventually, the viability of this would be regionalization. But at the same time, let's think 3, 4, 5 years
Yeah.
ahead, because you have to a government.
If-
Is Mark Orm gonna be here in 5
If
years?
you-
Probably not.
If you hire assistant already, then you have to give up the regionalization completely.
I don't think
because
you do.
already have two.
I don't think you do. I don't think you do.
Hmm.
Because when, once again, back when I was selectman, when we regionalized conservation,
Mhm.
one of your near and dear things, with Medway, he's our employee. He's our employee. we will sublet him to you at a cost
That was
to your
Upton.
to Upton, right?
Ultimately.
He was
We're not
still
doing
our
it anymore.
employee. We're not, I don't believe,
No, we are not.
I don't believe you are doing that anymore.
You know.
But you don't lose control of that employee. I mean, it's all part of the municipal agreement and stuff like that, but you don't lose control of that
Mm-hmm.
employee. And wouldn't you rather have control of that employee than somebody else dictating what the rules are? I would.
The other town also would like to get the same idea. If they want need
They
to have
would.
control over it.
They
so-
would, but what other
This-
town
the
in
best-
that
best
we
thing is-
would reasonably go with is growing at the pace that we're growing. Very few communities in our area here are growing like we are. I mean, Marlboro is growing business-wise. You know, Hudson is growing residential-wise. Medway is growing a little bit residential-wise, but not as much as probably as we are. And, you know, the deal would be that we control that employee, much like we did before. You know, when we talked years ago about regionalizing with Hopkinton and regionalizing the fire department, you know, the goal was that, you know, I mean, the first question that comes up in anything, and that's the thing you gotta love about town control in Massachusetts. The first question when you get everybody in the room is, all right, who's in charge? You know, and then it becomes who is in charge. And that's the first thing everybody wanted to know, who was gonna be the chief, who was gonna be the... So when you regionalize, you say, hey, listen, this is what asset that we have, this is what asset that we can offer. We'd be in a great position if we had that assistant to start the conversation of regionalization because we'd have our ducks in a row. People aren't going to regionalize with us if they have a need, you know? And I don't think it's a good idea to regionalize with Framingham.
If you're putting your staff part of the regionalization, that means that they are devoting time for the other town.
Mhm.
So you're admitting that you have excess time. So that's where the FinCom is going to ask questions. So you're already admitting there's excess time for you to
But
do
see,
it.
but
So
see,
why would you
what
want
I'm
to go
s-
for a
no,
full assistant?
what I was saying, that's 3, 4, 5 years from now. I would hope that 3, 4, 5 years from now, we would. Because we would be ready to do that. I don't think we're ready to do that now. I don't think we're ready to regionalize today. Do you guys?
Well,
How did it work? Did you find that it worked well, or is that why it's not going on anymore, because it didn't
I-
work well?
He left.
I-
He
I-
left
he
here.
left.
Yeah, he got a better job.
Oh.
Sometimes it's difficult to work with it in emergency situations like the fire department and the police department. It usually works well because they cooperate with each other because they need them. When
It's
they cross the
24/7,
bor-
yeah.
When they cross the borders, they do need their help from each other.
Can I bring this back to what is on this agenda for the idea? Can we find for food inspection, for the reason to get assistant food inspector, a list of 4 or 5 towns, same population and same run inspection way of doing things, combined closest to what we do, set it up, and then open up the other towns that's close to it, and put everything that they put it, they have, the other towns have, into ours, upgrade that, and then bring it to the budget.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's smart. You know, you try to find out a comparable
That-
town and.
The DPH has data for 261 towns. We can take the data out, but that's 2013, so we have to seek from the towns the reports for the current data.
But that's not
if
being
you can-
proactive, though.
We can
right?
rely
I mean,
upon
it's-
that.
It's fact-based and it's numbers-based, but what I'm trying to say is that we need to create a vision to be, not to meet a standard, to exceed a standard is what I'm trying to
But
say.
what would happen if the finance committee says, we can do, but not all of it we could do?
Goes back to Ron's point, if we don't ask, we don't get.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, and
All
the-
they can say is no, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand. We don't want to lose what we
Yeah, that's
will
a
be
good
able
one.
to get.
Right, well, no, they can say, well, we're not gonna give you, a full-time health assistant or, health agent to Mark, but, we can give you, Tom Curran can have, 10 more hours or 12 more hours or 16 more hours a week. Or maybe, maybe he does food inspections full-time. And Mark doesn't have to have that on his plate at all, other than to, potentially, collaborate with you kind of like you do now. And maybe that frees him up more, but if we don't ask for what John said, we're definitely not gonna get it if we don't ask. And I didn't have a great feeling just listening to them that it was gonna happen anyway, but,
No.
at least we can
I thought they were receptive. I don't think other people in the room were as receptive
Oh,
as they
okay,
were.
well, so I did, okay, well, you probably know more about
But,
that.
but Tom, I mean, you're a public health expert. I mean, you work in the city of Boston, and you're here 16 hours a week. Might be a loaded question, but I mean, what do you see the needs of the health department? I mean, who better qualified to answer
Yeah.
that question than maybe you?
I think the needs are there. I think even at, you know, what Laura does in the office is a lot of, you know, the administrative aspect of it in the field. There's needs there. You mentioned the community outreach piece. I think the more we engage the community, the more data we're gonna compile and get from them. I mean, we might not be, you know, they say most foodborne illnesses go unreported. We want to encourage dialogue between the citizens and the health department. We want people to let us know what's going on in their experiences. Has anybody contracted, even if it's a stomach bug? I mean, it might be norovirus. We're in norovirus season now, and you know, it's transferable in food and beverage establishments if people aren't, you know, following what the state calls an illness policy as far as exclusion and restriction requirements. Is somebody symptomatic? Do they have, you know, vomiting, fever, diarrhea, jaundice, any of those type of symptoms? And are they working with food? Because if they are, then they're gonna make somebody else ill. And 9 times out of 10, if somebody gets sick at a food and beverage establishment, they're not gonna report it. But you know, if you're engaging the community and there's more visibility from our end, then they might feel, you know, compelled, you know, to mention that to us, you know, because that's what we're here for, and you know, is to, you know, ensure public health and that nobody gets ill.
Yeah, I mean, so would extra hours being available to you, would that be,
If you.
Yeah, I
A good
mean,
thing.
extra time is of the essence, obviously. You know, it could be, you know, I could afford more time to you know, have more of that visibility that I mentioned, and to keep up with the workload, especially you know, given the temporary events and the corner spot and you know, Ashland Day and all these other events that happen throughout the year, which are wonderful, but they all need oversight and they all need you know, guidance. All the participating vendors.
now, I don't know if both of you are aware, you know, maybe you are, but you know, when an event happens in Hopkinton State Park, that's us.
Right.
That's us. Because,
Yeah.
you know, Hopkinton State Park is only about this much in Hopkinton. The rest is all in Ashland. So that's our jurisdiction. Only the entrance to Hopkinton State Park is in Hopkinton, the rest is in Ashland. So we, you know, and there's quite a few events there throughout the year, so
Right.
we cover that. yeah.
Here's the statistics from the DPH. It costs $77 billion annually. That's the cost of foodborne illnesses. And 48 million cases are
That's
reported
unbelievable,
annually.
48 million cases.
3,000 deaths, 128,000 hospitalized. And the statistics is roughly 1 in 6 Americans get sick from foodborne illnesses. If you can't protect this, what else can you protect?
Well, Tom, you work in a big city, and I mean,
Right.
and I always come back to this.
Right.
You know, I think the opiate crisis is the largest public health crisis that we've had in any of our lifetimes, unfortunately. And you work in a city environment versus, you know, the suburbs like we are here. But you have any thoughts on the opiate crisis? I mean, do you see it more in the city than you probably see it out here?
You do, and it's really, you know, it's a complex issue. It's always talked about, and you see it play it out. You know, my office is on Mass Ave. It's been deemed, unfortunately, the methadone mile, the intersection of Molina Cass and Massachusetts Ave is very close to where my office is, and you see the result of, you know, the debilitating disease of addiction play itself out. And, you know, they've built fences along the parameters of the roadway to prevent people from squatting and you know, transients living underneath, you know, trees and on the grass. And, you know, they've, you know, pooled the resources of the city between Boston EMS and Boston Public Health Commission to conduct outreach. you know, for people who are willing to get help, but there's always a greater need for more resources in that area. It's an unfortunate epidemic, and you know, the stigma needs to be removed, and it needs to be replaced with an element of compassion for the needs of these people who are addicted. And you know, many times people are led down that path through being prescribed the medication, and you know, through an injury at work or what have you, and then they kind of get reeled in through that avenue, and then it goes into, you know, the needle use, and then before you know it, they've lost their, you know, their job, they've lost their family, and now they're on the street, and they're, you know, doing what they need to do to get what they need, and that's just the sad reality of it. So, you know, I think that.
Well, you brought up a great point, and this is the point that I always come back to. The stigma does need to change. I agree 100% with you. And, you know, the old days, you know, 20, 30 years ago, you'd lock, you know, he's a deadbeat, we'll lock him up, and, you know, it's his problem.
Right.
Nowadays, we all know, everybody watching this, everybody attending this, we all know somebody's addicted to opiates. We might not know that they are, but we all know somebody that is. And if we are going to change that stigma, we're going to have resources to provide treatment for them. I mean, your insurance company, they're not going to do anything for you. You know, if you do get locked up, you know, the governor's coming up with, you know, I think a good plan, mandatory 72 hours in, you know, a clinic. But if you're addicted to heroin or opiates, 72 hours isn't going to solve your problem. You know, it might wake you up and it might put you on a path to recovery, but it's still not going to solve the problem. Where communities are going to have to embrace this, you know, and maybe it's going to be done in the cities, but wouldn't it be great if it's, you know, us? We establish a place here where, you know, not only Ashland residents, but residents from the Metro West area can come and have a place to be taken. Because somebody's going to have to plant that flag,
Right.
you know, and everybody's waiting and go, well, when is it going to be that guy? And when is it going to be that town? Or when is it going to be that city? Meanwhile, the problem's only getting worse.
Right, and they've created a safe haven in that area.
Right.
Close to Boston Medical, so you might have read about it in
Sure.
the paper, and that's where outreach occurs to folks who might be, you know, open to getting treatment. And it requires an element of willingness. You know, some people, they're defiant and they don't want it, and you're ready when you're ready. You know, it's a false bottom until you hit that rock bottom where you feel like that's going to be the catalyst to you getting the help that you need. Then you're just going to keep doing what you know, repeating the same behavior over and over again is a definition of insanity. And, you know, until
Right.
they reach that point where, you know, the help is there, but we need more avenues for the help to be there, because right now the resources, we always need more resources in that area.
But
you
if
know?
you're addicted to opiates here in Ashland, and there's probably lots of people who are you going to come to the counter out here and say, hey, I'm addicted to opiates, can you help me? I mean, you pray that they do, but it's not going to happen.
Right.
There's no confidentiality. There's no, you know. So once again, you know, we're going to do it. And I don't know if you guys saw it. It was, there's a bad batch of heroin running around Framingham right now. And 4 people died last week from a bad batch of heroin. And that's what's been reported. Well, you know what? I know a lot of kids who go to Framingham and live in Ashland, you know, and vice versa. I know a lot of people in Framingham come here. And from my days as the selectman, the stories I could tell you about our train station, you know, curl your toes, okay? And, you know, drugs come into this town a lot through our train station. It's just a fact of life. It's not judging. A lot of it comes from Worcester. A lot of it comes from Boston and stuff like that. What if we get a bad batch of heroin in Ashland? And it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, too. And what resources do we have in town for that? You know, and once again, it's getting back to that proactive thing is, you know, the people that are addicted predominantly to the opiates are the 20s to 35-year-olds. But that scale is going to keep working back a little bit more, you know. So if we can get to a middle schooler today, are we stemming a problem that might happen 10 years from now? And once again, getting back to that
We need
proactive. Because
more-
that came up in the finance committee. Well, you know, you talk about hiring somebody to work on the opiates. What would that look like? I think we have to spell that out. You know, this is what it looks like today. This is what it's going to look like in 6 months. This is what we think it'll look like in 2 years. I think if we do that, it helps. You know, I mean, that's data too. That is data too, you know.
Sure.
Day one, I mean, and you would be
I sent-
essential in that.
Yeah, well, I think I tried to send you those few articles that,
Right,
that
and-
above the fold in Philly, I thought you'd be interested in that.
I thank you,
Those
yeah, I mean-
statistics, I think they're actually opening up a safe injection site, which is, I think it'll be the first one in the United States. I guess they went to Vancouver and
Yeah.
checked that out, which is amazing that they're gonna set up a safe injection site for an illegal substance. But I guess.
That's how
I
big the
guess
problem
that they
is.
wanna control, at least, have an area where people can feel safe and hopefully not, die doing it.
We're not gonna, Ashland might embrace legalized marijuana, might, but I can guarantee you, Framingham is. And right on Route 9, within 2 miles from here,
Yeah.
we're gonna have it. So, I mean, once again, that is gonna be, and I'm not saying that marijuana leads to opiate addiction, I'm not saying that at all. But it's going to be another public health concern.
I understand that that's true, but we can't dispense those concerns in short term, but we are tasked to this.
Right, so.
So we need
So
to
let's,
get.
what-
let's
so
come up with a
what's-
game
what's-
plan.
yeah,
Either
exactly.
execution or
Let's
the
come up with a game plan.
Game plan
Yeah.
for this one, and then work on the other one, that's what we need to.
Well,
We can't give up that one, but we
Yeah.
need to take this, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
Let's
I
take
liked your
this.
presentation, for sure, to the financial committee, so, I think you did a lot of work on that,
Yeah.
and I think you gave a great presentation.
Well, John, you were supposed to get a group of people for the opiate thing and conduct a forum or something, that's what you were tasked
Well,
before in.
We were going to do that, and then
October, I
a lot of things have happened
this
since
time,
then,
I
yes,
know.
but yes.
It's-
Yeah, I still think we should definitely do that, yes, but,
Can we finish this and get number 8
Right,
after?
right.
well, hold on, yeah, we'll get, well, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're gonna have to make a presentation to Finance Committee.
Right.
So what I'm thinking is we make a two-prong presentation. We make one presentation, and, time constraints, for a full-time system, okay? And we come up with data, and we come up with a vision statement, we come up with a schedule, and we do that, and all along, and we say full disclosure, we're selling the vision, we're not selling numbers. And we do that, and I'd be happy to make that presentation, and I'll make it with, I won't do a PowerPoint, because I hate PowerPoint, but, I'll produce documents and we'll do that. I think the next thing, and just my recommendation, the two of you come up with a numbers-based plan of why we need a part-time inspector. And you make the closing, like, I think I made a really great presentation, but you should go with John's. No. Because I don't want to walk out of there with a donut. I want to walk out there with something, you know what I mean? Because there's too much,
Mhm.
at risk. There's too much at risk. You know.
Sounds like, I'm happy to help you out however you want,
Sure.
you're,
But-
whatever you wanna do, I
Okay.
can
We can
help
We'll do
fashion
that.
it.
definitely.
Okay,
Do you want Tom's documents that he's been like summarized, or what we've been
Yeah, I think
working
that
on,
would be good.
any sort of documents? or-
Right,
Yeah.
maybe we'll think through. and
I mean, this is
email.
raw data right now, we can kind of streamline this. and
Sure,
give,
yeah. And
that sounds great, John.
I can
You
reach
take
you.
the
Oh, yeah.
time to do that, that's awesome.
One thing I forget,
Oh, sure.
didn't even mention, like our bus lot issue. If we were proactive with the bus lot
Yeah,
issue
absolutely.
versus
Sure.
reactive, would we be in the same position that
So
we're in
we
today?
agree that,
You know what I
No,
mean?
well, you're always right, that you're always gonna be better prepared if you think about
so
it
we
before.
should get these ready by the next meeting, when do we have?
Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna email Adam tonight.
Right, but we should have a meeting of our own
I was gonna
beforehand, isn't
say,
it?
when are we gonna have our
Yeah.
next meeting?
Today's the 24th.
Mhm.
You have, it's gonna take us a little bit of time, for you to do your thing and us to do our thing as well. What do you think?
We should be able to put things together by 31st, if you want.
Well, I was gonna say, we would typically meet on February 6th. If we follow our policies and procedures and our guidelines, we would meet February 6th. I can definitely have a presentation together by February 6th. And I can definitely come back with the Mary presentation, and I can come up with the, what do you wanna call it, the vision presentation? Board of Health vision presentation?
Okay, yeah, that'd be great, and then we can,
Additional funding.
Yeah.
And you are available in the evenings.
I'll be available. We'll figure it, yeah.
So
figure
are we
out
gonna
some
plan
time.
on the 6th,
Yeah.
Yeah, want to do that? That's great.
February 6th?
Okay,
That Tuesday?
Yes.
yep.
Okay.
That's a Tuesday.
Is there a
And we'll do a test run on both,
manual or guidebook? for
both
the
presentations?
program?
Yeah, that'd be
so
great.
we'll be prepared to make the presentations, and then we can tweak them. You know,
Yeah,
hey,
everybody
that's
give
good, that's
everybody's-
bad,
yeah,
you know, take that
everybody's
out, you know,
input.
delete that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be good.
Good, good. I'm liking this.
Yeah.
It's like we're getting some work done. Good.
Can she make it?
Okay, so that'll be the first thing we
You
do.
need to make a copy for me so that way I can read through and find out what data she collected and then asked for.
Okay.
Yeah, it's his.
Do you need it right now? Do you need this
Whenever
back
he
right
needs
now?
it, yeah.
I don't need it right now, no. I mean,
Okay.
just as long as you give it back to me.
I'll make it
Okay.
after the
Yeah.
meeting.
Sure, sure, that's fine.
Win-win.
That's the
Yeah.
program that Tom
Right.
uses.
Yeah,
That's your Bible.
that's right.
Well, it's your guide or they supply?
Well, it belongs to the town, but
Oh,
I use it.
it's from the software company that did it?
Yes,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Good.
That was actually through a grant that we
Yeah,
got from,
Medway and three of the towns did it.
The state actually uses that as well.
All right.
The state food inspectors.
It gets upgraded every year, doesn't it?
that's the grant that State Representative Santacandro and I got from,
Yeah. It recently got
from
updated,
MAPC.
updated with the 2013 food code, although the state still operates off of the 1999 food code.
Really?
Because the 2013
That's the reason why I
it hasn't
asked
been
that.
signed into law yet.
Yeah.
So
That's why I
they've
asked.
been talking about it for several years to implement the 2013 code into
Come
law.
on, Marty.
I mean, hopefully it will happen soon, sooner rather than later.
And not much later.
Yeah.
So this is all
Okay,
good.
so-
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. Guess we
So-
can, you
We
wanna
will-
just,
We
you
will
wanna do-
work on the food inspector and you will work on the.
on the
Vision.
assistant health agent
Yep.
presentation, yeah, and we'll be able to tweak them, and then when, so, look, John, did you say you knew when the next financial committee meeting
It's not,
was?
I
or
checked,
Going to
it's
send
not
a
on
note.
the
It's not on the calendar, okay, so
They-
we'll try to find out
I
that
think they were
way.
talking about 23rd or something, I was sitting there.
I think
for
I had that in my head too,
something
can't you?
like that,
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
remember.
Do you have a
Right, so
calendar? in
that-
front of
That's
you?
great,
Yeah.
so that if we can have our presentations ready, then by the time we can meet again, most likely before, they meet, if we need to, see, or even if it's concurrent. we
Oh,
can-
wait a minute, I said, we're February 5th, February 5th. That would be February 5th. So I had it in my mind that the finance committee was either gonna meet on the 12th, because they typically meet on Tuesday nights, 12th or the 19th.
Sixth is a Tuesday.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm looking at the wrong year. Hello.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong
No,
year.
yeah, you were
I had
right.
6th
Yeah,
the
because the
first time.
Super Bowl's the
6th,
4th,
right.
and then the 5th.
So they're either gonna meet on the
Yeah.
13th or the 20th, and I don't think they've decided when they're gonna meet yet. And I
Okay.
think they wanted us to have back in February, but even if they pushed us back to March, that would be fine. But I think the sooner we're ready, the better. But are we gonna go back to the first and third Tuesdays? Because the only reason I'm
Yeah.
asking
We'll
is
see why
then,
not.
getting back to the thing that we talked about, honoring Mary, then I think maybe we should do something on the 20th then? Or is that too soon? February 20th?
No, if you have
Yeah.
idea to discuss, we can
Yeah.
discuss it, and maybe if we don't finish finalizing it, we can bring it up on the 20th, maybe.
Well, no, what I want,
Doing.
doing it, and,
Oh,
and
oh.
inviting people and having,
Right.
and sending out invitations so more people can come,
So
so.
you need to first make a decision on the 6th on what we are going to do.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah, we'll
what's
put
important.
that
So
on
that-
the,
All right, and then
So,
that would give us
right.
then 2 weeks then to
Mhm.
send out invitations.
Implement.
Okay. All right, I just like to work with some structure. Okay.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so tentatively, we'll do something on February 20th. Okay. Okay, very good. Super.
John, thank you for sending those flowers to them on behalf of the board. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
And
It's-
then let me know what it costs, and then I will.
No,
Did you?
it's not, don't worry about it, it's no big deal. Yeah, thank you. It's from all of us and everybody knows, so that's nice.
Can I bring up
All
one
right.
other big issue, and
Yeah,
it's
please
gonna
do.
fall under, I could think to Mark's thing about 8th. Laura sent it out, but also I think we all got it individually from Cheryl Sabaro about the marijuana regulations. Are we gonna be ready on April 1st? if we keep going the way we're going right now, we're not gonna be
Yeah.
ready on April 1st. We need to be ready on April 1st. We really need to put our head down and get ready for April 1st.
Wasn't there some decision made by the selectmen? They're going to do something.
I don't know, was there?
I heard they were going to put it on the ballot or something, I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, with all due respect to the selectmen who I love and dear, but we're an autonomous elected board. What do we want to do?
No?
What do we want to do? I mean, what better advocate, I mean, Cheryl Sabaro basically laid it all out for us. This is what we need to do. I just think
So maybe
we
we
need
need
to start
include
doing
that
it.
as a topic on the next.
Yeah, on
We
the
need to
next
start doing
agenda.
it.
Okay, great.
Well, we can look at, we can probably,
That's great.
I mean-
Since we're on,
Don't reinvent the wheel, just do what
Do
you,
what you say,
do what you,
right.
I mean,
yeah, that she works with,
How do the recent developments at the federal level affect? Yeah, it's been,
it's
yeah.
gonna be interesting.
It is,
It's gonna be
yeah.
interesting. I mean, I told this, I had
there's already.
when the Attorney General was in town, I actually got invited to that meeting and
Oh, yeah,
the doors were closed and,
yeah.
I think he's gonna prosecute.
Mm,
And more importantly, and this is, everything comes back to money, as we all know,
Yeah,
but it's against the law, federally,
federal law, yeah.
to do business with marijuana dealers.
Right.
So which bank is going to touch that?
That's
Well,
what's
they're
called the
already
cash
starting to
business.
pull out the credit card machines in a lot of these places that have a business plan and they're ready to set up shop. The credit card they can't take credit
Yep.
cards now because no finance company wants to get involved.
Chase, Bank of America,
Yeah.
any national bank, they're not gonna touch this with a 10-foot
So a
pole.
safety issue. Cash
Safe-
business,
Well, and that changes everything.
That
Yeah.
invites-
Security and, just, wait for wait for them to make the night drop and just follow, knock them on the head, because that's gonna be a lot of cash, yeah? It's,
Did a guy come in from Washington, come into Boston today? Talking about the law, federal laws of prostitution?
well, he's the recent appointee, yes.
Yeah.
And he indicated,
remember, right?
he didn't flat out say, but he indicated that he's gonna prosecute,
Yeah.
yeah.
by the way.
Gonna be interesting.
9586.
881.
9586.
since we're kind of talking about that, anything else that anybody might want to bring up next time? You don't even have to say now. We can all just
Send the email.
just send an email and, for the next agenda, if there's anything else. I already have the three, at least major things. We should certainly talk about exactly what you just said at the next time.
Well, one thing, and I certainly don't want to bring up, pick at a scab from months gone by, but I also don't feel like we've closed the book, and I mentioned it earlier, is the bus lot. Some people were going to go look, some people were gonna go, see stuff. If we agree or disagree, I think we all can still agree that there's probably an issue over there. I don't know that it's a oil issue, and I don't know, and the fact that I don't know concerns me, but I do think there is probably a noise issue.
Mhm.
What I would like to do, and as I mentioned to, prior, and the property owner wasn't open to it at that time, because I think the emotions were still raw of not having a sit-down. But I still think a sit-down meeting, with the board and some residents and the property owners, let's, put yourself in their shoes. Let's talk about some screening issues at least. Put up a fence and some arborvitae and prove to me that there's not an oil issue over there. And I'm not saying that there is, and I'm not saying there isn't, but, it's been a big issue, and, there's talk that it's going into the wetlands and stuff. We can't turn a blind eye to it. And I also think we gotta get Amoresco back in, and we're owed an explanation of what's going on with the landfill as well. Because, I've seen the planning board meetings, because I watch all of them, and Mark goes to all of them.
That just went up today.
There's a lot of talk, but there's not a lot of action.
So these are the two items that we want to put it on the next meeting and then make a decision to
Yeah,
get
we
the
could discuss them.
concerned
Discuss them.
parties.
Absolutely.
Discuss them.
We can't get them next time, but we need to discuss and then make a decision to bring the parties for the
Right, for
subsequent
future, right, so we can talk about how we want to proceed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because, the screening up there really isn't a public health issue, but I think it is a public health issue, because if I lived across the street from there, my heart would be pounding out of my chest every day. 'Cause I couldn't
I
get off
see
it.
the public
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, it's a public, and it's our jurisdiction. And I don't think it's unreasonable for Amoresco to come in and give us an update.
And with that, I came in early to the office and Laura told me that Mark is coming back Monday into the office. All right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Oh, that's
Now,
awesome.
I don't think that's been determined yet, to be
Go
honest
ahead.
with you.
Alright.
Well,
Right.
well, my point is for that Amoresco landfill is, he should be sitting in on that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, he's our health agent, of course,
Yes, he should be sitting in on that.
Right.
And if he can't make it, if Amoresco can make it, but he can't make it, gotta compromise and give and take a little bit. Because you gotta need both sides to be there.
I think the will of the board is to always include Mark in everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Everything.
That's great.
yeah.
Hopefully he'll be able to, well, you think he'll be able to make, the next meeting, or,
I would think so.
Because I'm gonna put on,
Yeah.
if he has a report, we're
Yeah.
definitely gonna get that.
Yeah.
But I also don't think we should push that either.
No,
Right.
I'm just saying if he feels like he wants to do something, that's great, but,
Right,
so,
because coming back, you know,
Let
he
him
should come
recover
back with
fully.
baby
Yeah.
steps, you know.
yeah.
Let him come back with full energy rather than just.
Yeah.
And
If there-
Ron, as a doctor, you know, patients don't wanna come back too soon and see you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the problem is with our
No,
meetings,
well-
our meetings are at 7 o'clock at night. And,
Yeah.
You'll put in a full day's worth of work, and those types of recoveries, you feel fine, and all of a sudden you just don't feel
Right.
fine.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
right, it's gonna be a process for him, that's for sure. So, hopefully he'll be able to make it at his discretion, for sure.
Yes.
Well, you and I saw him, last and you saw him.
Yeah,
He looked good.
great.
He looked good.
Yeah, he
Oh,
really-
that's
He looked
good.
He looked really
It's
good.
good to hear
Lost
that,
some weight.
yeah.
He did.
Next.
So, all right, I guess we can, since we talked about that, I
We
guess.
wanna do minutes?
I had, I already read them before we were supposed to have the last meeting, so there's nothing I saw that I disagreed with. I don't know if everybody had a shot to look at them. Did you have a
I
shot
didn't
to?
intend it, you know.
Oh, okay. Okay, there you
I
go.
was not here.
I read and intended, I'll make a
Yeah.
motion to approve.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Do you think you can, with only 2 votes there?
All right.
Yeah, you need a quorum of 3 for the.
We
vote.
do have a quorum of 3.
But he wasn't
Need a
there.
vote of 3.
I can't vote for it.
You can vote. Yes, you
I
can.
haven't,
That is-
You haven't watched the meeting?
no, I need to watch it, that's why I said, I'll find out if it's recorded. TV, I'll do that.
You can table him until he watches it, then.
Yeah, well,
but we
that's what,
Well,
okay.
to be factual, you could abstain and then we could pass them, but if you wanna watch them, that's fine.
Oh,
Yeah, You have a quorum, yeah. When you vote to abstain, it's still a vote. He's not voting to approve, but,
Even though it's technically a 5-member board.
correct?
Okay.
So you do, I mean, but you watch them,
Yeah,
then
that's-
it's clean.
that's
Then
fine.
it's clean.
Yeah.
You don't
Lisa
want
did
it.
say
It's clean.
you need 3.
If you're really bored and you wanna go home
Lisa
tonight
did
and
say
watch
you need
it,
3, Lisa me, so that's why.
if you're bored, yeah,
we
go home
can-
and watch it.
You can table it till,
Okay, yeah, we'll
I'll make
bring
a
it up.
motion to
We'll-
table.
Okay, great, I'll second that, and we'll bring it up. I'll put it on the agenda next time, and
Okay.
we'll bring it up again.
But let's vote on it then.
Okay?
All right.
Yeah, all in favor?
yeah.
Aye.
Okay. All right, anybody else want to add anything else, or?
Mark, you
Call it
wanted
done?
to talk about something on number 8 or something?
Yeah, I had, in the last couple of meetings, the citizens' topics. I wanna come back and, I know it's the way the boards are structured in some ways, that board members have their ideas, topics they wanna talk about. Can that come back and be used as their topics, but as right after citizens' topics, instead of the agenda after citizens, have citizens and member their own topics off agenda talked about, and then go to right to the agenda.
Members' reports, like have that on the agenda? Is that
Yeah.
what you mean?
That's not on the agenda, yes.
Like, we used to have the agenda set up so it would say members' report, chairman's report, vice
Yes.
chairman's report, clerk's report.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's.
Put that in the front instead of in the very last, and then we just go through. And then if it's a certain time, you had to take a vote of a time to vote to continue the meeting, it will continue on the agenda, not off agenda.
That way you're covered, any topic you talk about under your
That is-
business.
There is a template You
Sure,
should
I'm happy to-
provide the blank template to.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, I want to end on a positive note. I have to say, this is probably the most enjoyable Board of Health meeting I've been to in a year and a half, so thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I thought this was
Yeah.
very nice. And Tom, thank you
Yeah,
for,
really,
Oh,
thanks
thank
for
you.
taking
Making
the
the
time to
effort.
stay, because I know
My
you didn't
pleasure to
have
be
do
here,
this. We
yeah.
appreciate all your input.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much for having me. I appreciate it.
Very, very insightful and useful for us, that's for sure.
Hopefully I'll digest that.
All right. we good?
Motion to
Call a
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, okay, great, I'll second that, all in favor?
aye,
Aye.
it is 8:32.
Thank you.
That's great.